Clinical case. Be careful, my beloveds. Interesting case, I suppose. A 20-year-old college basketball player comes for a pre-participation physical. He's asymptomatic, but mentions his father died suddenly at age 35. On auscultation, you hear a grade 2-6 crescendo-decrescendo systolic murmur at the left sternal border. Which of the following physical exam maneuvers would most specifically support a diagnosis of hypertrophic obstructive cardiomyopathy? So I don't want to go into details. Correct option is the murmur becomes louder when the patient performs a Valsalva maneuver. Yes, absolutely. So the question is designed to test the pathognomonic physical exam findings that diagnoses hypertrophic obstructive hypertrophic obstructive cardiomyopathy from most other murmurs, particularly aortic stenosis. So the murmur becomes louder when the patient performs a Valsalva maneuver. Of course, this is the correct option. So the point is that the murmur of hypertrophic obstructive cardiomyopathy by a dynamic outflow tract obstruction from the hypertrophied septum. Any maneuver that decreases venous return preload to the left ventricle will make the chamber smaller. In a smaller chamber, the hypertrophied septum is closer to the mitral valve leaflet, making the obstruction worse and the murmur louder. So the Valsalva maneuver, straining, dramatically decreased preload, thus intensifying the hypertrophic cardiomyopathy murmur. Okay, so high yield takeaway. Underline it. The murmur of hypertrophic obstructive cardiomyopathy is unique because it's a dynamic. It's the only systolic murmur, along with mitral valve prolapse, that gets louder with maneuvers that decrease preload, decrease Valsalva standing. So this is the opposite of almost every other murmur. Okay? So it's the only systolic murmur that gets louder with maneuvers that decrease preload, like Valsalva. Stay blessed.